Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to today's Christian music broadcast with Tyler Garth.
And I'd like to welcome you on this beautiful fall day up here in Michigan. And I have a wonderful guest with us from down in Indiana, where I met my wife and plucked her out of the cornfields just outside Kokomo, Indiana, almost 24 years ago. We have Heather Richardson with us. Are you on the line, Heather?
I am.
All right. Only you're not from Kokomo. You grew up around Indianapolis, and now you live in Bloomington. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. Grew up in Indianapolis, and about 10 years ago got married and moved to Bloomington.
All right. Hallelujah. Well, I'm glad to have a Hoosier on the line with us today.
Yeah.
I spent many years down there in ministry and have a great heart for Indiana. My son is a Hoosier, born down there, and you have, so you're married and you have two children and another one almost here. Is that am I correct on that or did I get that wrong? Okay.
That is correct, yeah.
Well, you know, I'd like to just start off by finding out when you came to know, how you came to know Christ. Seeing as we are here as a part of CSMI, and it's Christian Songwriters and Musicians International, and I noticed from some info I was reading up here that it wasn't until you came to know the Lord personally that you finally realized why you had such a strong desire and gift of touching others through song. So I guess to get at the root of that, we need to find out what happened. Did you grow up in church, or were you largely unchurched in your early years?
Yeah. I grew up in Indianapolis, and I grew up in a Catholic home, and nothing wrong with that, but I grew up and went to private school, and I always just had this, I have three older sisters. We used to sing and perform together, and I just always had this deep desire to, I always thought there was something more to life. There was more to what I was around, and I had a great family, good, strong, morally foundation that I was raised on, and good discipline. But I just always had this. I always felt like I was never good enough, and I always grew up into high school. I just fought that so deeply. I always felt like I wasn't pretty enough, wasn't skinny enough, didn't sing great enough like my sisters, and I just never felt enough. And then I got into high school, and a friend invited me to church, just a Protestant church and a non-denominational church, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll go. Yeah, I wasn't really thrilled about it, but I went because I was like, well, what else am I going to do? Because I wasn't even going to Catholic church at that time, and so I went, and it was a huge church at that, and I wasn't used to that either, but I was blown away in the fact of, I turned to my friend and I said, you can have music like this in church. You can have, a band and lots of really great singing and upbeat music and different things. And so that just began kind of a journey for me that God used music to open my heart to him in a different way, because I had been very closed off, and there were a lot of things in my family that had been going on, and I just felt, again, like I wasn't good enough, and God just really used music to draw me into him. And it was from then, it wasn't much longer after that I just decided, that God was tugging on my heart, and I made a decision to follow him in a personal way, and not just because my family did or because, that's what you're supposed to
Wonderful.
do. And I always believed God existed, but I'd never had a real
had the personal
relationship with him. Yes.
All right. No friendship there, just a distant being. So I have to ask, you probably aren't expecting this question, but at that point, what happened to the Hardy Girls, or whatever you called yourselves, you and your sisters? the Hardy Sisters. That's it.
Yeah, the Hardy Sisters.
So you were singing together throughout those years, like your teen years? Is that what you were doing? And then during the time
stopped.
this experience occurred? Or?
Correct. Yeah, we kind of stopped, I would say, because I'm the baby of my family, and there's 8 years between myself and my oldest sister. And I would say when she got out of high school, she kind of stopped, doing that. It wasn't cool enough anymore to sing with us.
I got you.
And,
okay.
So, but we all continued on, the rest of us, singing in different choirs, and we sang together still.
Sure.
And so it kind of faded away, but I continued singing, but I just sang, I was always kind of more of a harmonizer, never really a lead singer or anything like that. And then it wasn't until I graduated high school that when I went on to college, I went to IUPUI, and I was involved with Campus Crusade for Christ, which is, they call it Crew now.
Wonderful.
And that was what really opened my eyes and my heart to know that, wow, I'm supposed to be leading people in worship. I can be encouraging and inspiring others through the Lord, through my relationship with the Lord, through music.
Yes, amen. So at what point did you, now when you went to IUPUI, did you start in there in music, or was that a side thing for you and you had another career choice you were making?
Yeah,
or was that's
a good question. Yeah, I went into college thinking I was going to be an accountant. And realized soon after that wasn't going to be for me when I was getting C's and D's in my accounting classes. So I went on to, while I was doing college, I didn't study music. I just continued on with another path, which I chose social work, and because I really wanted to, work with people. And I just did music on the side. I led worship at the church that I got saved in, and just began just getting involved.
So
and
was there someone that said to you at some point, hey, you ought to pursue something further in this, or is that something just welling up inside of you and you had to, on your own raw faith, step out and say, okay, I think maybe I should pursue this trail?
Yeah, I had always been told, oh, you need to do more, you needed to do this or that. And I was still battling, even though I was saved, and even though I was still struggling with that. I'm not good enough. No one's going to want to listen to me. No one wants to hear what I have to say or sing. But God just kept still putting me in situations and opening doors for me to continue to sing. And I think it was when I got married, we had moved down here to Bloomington, and my husband's father-in-law is the one who started this church, and it's a small church. And through that small church, coming from like a 5,000-6,000 member church to down to like 80, was a huge change.
Right.
But it was a gift to me because I was able to utilize gifts and talents in music that I wasn't able to use before. And so I began about 10 years ago leading worship, and from then just so many other doors opened of going to different conferences, meeting you guys, just because I've stepped out in faith, and God just opened those doors for me.
All right. So tell me, how did you meet? How did the doors open to get to someone such as a Roger Ryan down in Nashville to work on the song we're going to be playing for the audience later?
Yeah.
Maybe there's some secrets you don't want to divulge, and that's fine, but I'm sure some people would be interested to know. I noticed looking at his site not long before the program, we have other CSMI artists I saw on there as well. And so how did that relationship come about?
Well, first of all, I began getting involved about 5 or 6 years ago with the Gospel Music Association's Immerse Conference. And so my father-in-law and I, who also does music, and a friend, Carter, we thought, hey, let's go down there and check this out, because we all do music together down here. And so we went, and through that very first year, I think it was in 2013 2013, we met Leah Faith, and you might know her. She's a CSMI artist.
Yes.
She's one of my dearest friends now. So I met Leah,
Wonderful.
and it was immediate kind of kindred spirit. We just, literally within the first few hours of being there, it was just like, wow, I've known you forever. And so we ended up just becoming really great friends, and through my friendship with her, I met Roger and Leah and her husband. They came up here probably about a year later, maybe 2 years. I can't really remember the timeline.
Okay.
But they came up here, and we did a concert at our church. And through that, just simple relationship with Roger, just friendship. It just started a friendship. And then over the last few years, he's always like, Heather, I really want to work with you, if you want to. He's not one to push anyone into anything. And so I wasn't ready, I don't think, yet. And then it just, through developing a friendship through him and still with Leah, that's when those doors started opening to work with Roger.
Wonderful.
And he's just so well known, and he's fantastic at what he does. And what really stands out to me is he genuinely cares about me. And not that others didn't or don't, but it's just God's timing, I believe. And in fact, with the song that you, I think, are going to be playing, that song actually was not recorded by Roger, not produced by him, unfortunately. We're working on all of that, but that song that before I started really recording with Roger, I have a friend whose name is Matt Price. He's also in the Franklin, Tennessee area, and he actually produced this song that I think you'll be sharing. But
yes, the song First Punch?
Yes, the song First Punch.
Okay. And well, I'll let you finish up what you were going to say about Roger's relationship, but then we'll go into letting the audience hear some of your work, and we'll play First Punch, and then we'll talk about where that song developed from and some of the other aspects of your ministry and music. So I'm sorry, you were telling us about Roger Ryan, right?
Yeah, well, just with Roger, when you get to work with someone so great at what they do, you kind of I still battle with, I'm not good enough, it's a lot of females feel that, I know, and maybe if anyone's listening, they might recognize that in their life, but it's still, even though it's, something that I've overcome, it's still something that creeps back in, and so I would ask myself, I'm not good enough, why would Roger want to, work with me? But he's always remind me, you've got something that the world needs to hear, and I want to help cultivate that and share that. And so I'm just thankful for that opportunity to continue working in the future with Roger.
Wonderful. Well, so the man that helped you produce First Punch, again, what was his name?
His name's Matt Price. Matt Price.
Matt Price, down there in Nashville. All right. And here is the song First Punch by Heather Richardson. Enjoy. Okay.
Take a
Wonderful. And that was First Punch by Heather Richardson. And I want to welcome our listening audience once again to this edition of Today's Christian Music. This is put out by CSMI, Christian Songwriters and Musicians International. We can be found on the web at csminetwork.com. And if you'd like to check us out in person, we'll be having a national conference down in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Once again, this fall, October, the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of October 20th, 21st, 22nd. And we'd love to have you there. So come and check us out. And we are thrilled to have Heather Richardson with us from Indiana.
Yes,
we were
hello.
just talking about how God got her to some producers and different folks to help get her talent and gifts out there to encourage people. And you mentioned earlier about going into some social work, and I thought how well that song would work in encouraging so many. However, this had a more of a personal touch to it. Why don't you give us a little of the history behind the writing of that song?
All right. Yes, this song, First Punch, I wrote it with my friend Lisa Cox of Zionsville, Indiana, and she brought this idea to me of calling it First Punch, and she's actually fighting Parkinson's disease. And she got diagnosed about 5 years ago, and she started, she actually didn't tell anyone for the first bit of time that she had it. She just was dealing with it internally. And so a friend, I think, recommended to her to start this boxing program called Rock Steady Boxing, and it's over the whole country and even in I think a couple other countries, over 250 affiliates of this Rock Steady Boxing. And so she started going, and almost within, certainly by the first year of her doing that, her functionality was so much better. She wasn't shaking as much whenever she was boxing, and so she just really began to see that, she just had to take that first step of fighting back the disease. And then we started talking about it and realizing that, wow, this is not just about boxing. It is figuratively speaking of, fighting back and using boxing analogies. But we had like a test group kind of listen to the song in its very early stages, and they were so inspired by it. And, one, having marital problems, and others fighting other illnesses or just problems with their children or finances, and they're just realizing, to take that first step of faith and to fight back and not let it defeat you and overcome whatever circumstance that you're in. And so we just began crafting the song, and of course it has a very upbeat pop feel to it, which is not my standard usually. Not that I don't enjoy that stuff, but
what is your standard?
Well, that's a great question, Tyler.
I know I'm jumping in the middle of other
No, you're fine.
Things,
No, it is. No, it's funny that you ask that because I talk about that all the time. I write music and I perform and I sing and I just want to share. I guess I've been told I have a little bit of country with soul with a little, I guess, pop infused in there, a little rock. But so it's
there's
very,
some upbeat soul country.
Yes, I guess. I don't know. That's that's something that when I work with Roger, he's like, just be you, whatever that sound is. Because a lot of times the industry, they want you to pick a genre and go with it.
No, that's great.
That's great.
It's great to just be what you are, because you're right. Oftentimes people, they say, all right, I'm country, so they try to write everything so it stays within that genre. But no, just be Heather.
And,
so anyway, so the song was written a little outside your usual style, but it seems to have been received well.
Yeah,
we
had a
right.
Yeah, we released it on iTunes in March, and so you can find it on iTunes. But it's we had a local station in Indianapolis. They wanted to do a segment on it, and they focused, of course, on the story of the song, which is what we wanted. But it was really neat to just expose it, and we did it at Rock Steady Boxing, the story, and that was really neat. And so God's just been using it, and then something that's birthed from this song is an organization that my cousin Ann Lisa began called First Punch for Kids. And so it's a boxing program built for children with challenges. And so, you know, they could have, like my cousin's daughter has cerebral palsy. And so she is a part of this program, and it's really helped them. They just started it this summer. And so God just used this song, which, you know, to some, they're just like, man, I just bebop around in the car in it, and they enjoy it. But it also has a deeper root and meaning, and it's being used, and I'm just thankful to be a part of it.
Right. That is wonderful. So where do you see your music ministry going from this point? I know it's probably temporarily on hold due to a new little one about to come into the world. But so if people wanted to get a hold of you to come and minister in music at their church or their venue, how would they get a hold of you, and what site would they go to, or number would they call?
They can go to HeatherRichardsonMusic.com, and that's my website, and there's a contact button that sends an email to me. They can also find some other information on how to get the song and to look at that video of the story that was done. But, you know, for me right now, yes, it's a little on hold. I still am doing little things here and there. I'm on Tuesday, I'm performing a little bit, doing the national anthem at a organization benefit outing on Tuesday, and it's for First Punch for Kids. So it's like it's still happening. It's still momentum for the song that I was able to release. And then maybe after the new year, maybe before, I'm not sure. But once the baby is a little bit bigger, I'm going to just keep on going, and I keep writing, and I keep, leading worship. I've kind of taken
you were looking at putting out
away.
Okay, took a step away right at the moment, but you were putting out, I think when this song came out, First Punch, it was a part of an EP. You had a few other songs that you were putting out with it, or is that something you are still working on?
Yeah, I am working on a whole new EP. The First Punch was kind of a standalone. We haven't really talked about if that'll be a part of the new EP, because the new EP has songs I've written there are truly like about hope and faith and just meaning of life, that sort of thing, and it has a different feel to it. I hope next year. I already have one song, Have a Little Faith, that I wrote, and that's almost done, and so I just have to get on that timeline and see when I can get that sucker out there, because that's when I go around and sing at different places, people really enjoy to hear that song.
So you're endeavoring to get the EP out next year, or you're just got the one coming out and just taking it easy and seeing how things move along? It seems as you've just trusted God and walked out your faith, that God is taking care of some of the other issues, getting you in touch with people and providing the opportunities to use your gifts and your talents. So, I would like to give you just a few minutes. We have just over about 4 minutes left, but if there was anything that you would want people to take away from this interview, anything you'd like to say to encourage people, this is your time to do it.
That's great. Yeah, if I could, it's kind of twofold. One, to people that are listening that are maybe like I was growing up, maybe feeling defeated or feeling that you're just not good enough. My ministry, when I write, I just want to, one, feel God's presence in a song, whether it talks about God or not. And I believe that you don't have to necessarily proclaim that in the lyrics of a song to reach the lost people, because I believe that God is in me and through the lyrics and through the melody, and I've seen God touch people through the music. And so, just in life in general, that to keep on going, to keep on fighting back, and but that's great if you want to do that all on your own, but nothing is God will take your circumstance, and if you don't have
Yes.
God in your life, you don't have a personal relationship with Him, you're just going to keep running into a wall, because that was me for many years. I just kept chasing those same things without having that personal relationship with God. And if I could tell anyone anything, is to get to know the Lord. Ask questions. Ask God, what are you all about, and He'll put people in your life like He did for me, and they'll pray for you, and they will help build you up. And your gifts and talents will then be used in a greater way because you're using them for the Lord, and He will, to be honest with you, and the other part of what I want to say is to people in my situation that are in music and that are in this career industry, I guess, music industry, is I was chasing, I didn't know what I wanted to do, 4 or 5 years ago. I just was like, hey, I'm just doing what I do. But at one point I started to want to get noticed or want to catch that break or want this or that. But if I had not step back and say, okay, well, this really isn't about me, and how is God using me where I'm at right now? And so I think it's easy to get wrapped up into the social aspect and the business aspect of music, but that if we are serving where we're at, that God just opens those doors, and that's kind of what He's done in my life. Is I just keep following Him and serving Him, even though it's hard sometimes. And you do have to put some things aside. You have to, like right now, I'm getting ready to have a baby in the next few weeks. And so I've had to kind of put things on the back burner, not even on the back, just, you just divide your time up differently. But if I had not had confidence in the Lord and trust that He's going to take care of all of these things and His timing's perfect, then I would probably be pretty depressed, because I love music so much and I love touching others through music that it is hard to not. I was saying I took a little bit of break even at my church just because I was getting overwhelmed. And I think that sometimes we have to do that for our families, because our relationship with God's first and our families are second. And, God's going to put you where you need to be if you trust in Him. So bottom line, trust in the Lord.
Yes, amen. That is a good word, and I trust and believe that God is going to encourage some of the people who listen to this broadcast. I want to thank you again for coming on the program with us, and the Lord bless you and your new little one coming along, and we hope to see and talk to you again sometime soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to today's broadcast, Today's Christian Music. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. For more information, you can email us at cwnnashville@gmail.com or visit our website at csiNetwork.com. You don't have to feel